All right, ladies and gentlemen, let's get ready to take a look at some features coming in Mandate of Heaven, featuring everyone's favorite Scotsman, it's Jake.
Hello everyone, and now with Chris joining me quite often for the developer multiplayers, I think I might be a bit challenged in my title as favourite Scot in the company, so difficult, but I'm glad you're rooting for me. Thanks a lot there. Yes, welcome to the first of what I'm led to believe are 4 feature streams for our upcoming DLC Mandate of Heaven. It's not too far away, and we're going to take the opportunity to look at China for the first of these feature streams, or as we have it in the game in 1444, the mighty Ming. So I always love this run-up to release, where we get to show off the features that we've been working on for quite some time now, and we get the real talk about them. So Mandate of Heaven, we really wanted to revitalize the experience over in East Asia and bring new play experiences. And China always represents a challenge when it comes to modelling in Europa Universalis, because by all rights, they have the land, they have the development. By all things in the game, they should be the Ming Dozer, as I like to hear them called. They have the strength to do just about anything. So how do you model that in the game so that they can be powerful, but not to the point where they're just going to consume the world themselves? That's something we had to approach when looking at China. We also wanted to make it a real interesting place to play. So without further ado, we have the Empire of China mechanic right here. Got its own little button to pop it up. So what's all this about? Now, starting in 1444, we have the Zhu, who's in power. I'm sure I'm butchering names here, but never mind that. They are the Emperor of China, and Emperor of China is this new concept we have in East Asia, that there is the one central powerful nation who is controlling China. They don the celestial throne for themselves. But how do we model that in-game here? Well, we've got some information here. We've got the Emperor of China, who now have the ability to establish their own tributaries, and it comes with the following benefits. They have mandate to play with, meritocracy, they have their own decisions to make, and they get claims on China, they can unite China. What does all this mean for us? Well, we're going to take it from the top here with our mandate value. So, when you are the Celestial Emperor, the Emperor of China, you will have this mandate value, and that can go up or down depending on many factors, as it says here. If you have good stability and you've got yourself a large tributary system and you have prosperity within your realm, then your mandate is going to go up. You know, life under you is good. And it can be lost if provincial devastation becomes rife, and if you have bordering nations who are not your tributaries. So, strong, stable, prosperous empire with plenty of tributaries, things are going to be looking good for you. And if things start looking down with devastation, oh, that mandate's not going to look so good. So, currently our mandate, you start with 60 mandate at the very start here. We get a bit of unrest reduction, and it's a touch easier to get your stability up. Now, when mandate starts going below 50, that's when things can start looking a little rough for the Celestial Emperor, because then your armies are going to be fighting quite a bit worse, and the goods produced within your realm is also going to hurt you. So you're going to be hurting economically and on the battlefield. So, message there is, it's imperative to keep your mandate high. But what use is all this mandate that you have? Well, we have over here our celestial reforms. People could, and rightfully would, draw parallels to the Holy Roman Empire here, where, yeah, we've got our own mandate, and we will use it to pass these reforms. You have to do the 5 in order, and they'll require a 80 mandate at least to do. And when you take them, it's going to reduce your mandate by 50 and your stability by 1. We'll look at those in just a bit, but if we look through the bonuses we get, we can get meritocracy, plus 0.5 with the first one. Moving down, we've got trade efficiency and a diplomat when you reform your Seiban. You can delegate the Zongdu, and that'll give you autonomy reduction across the board. And then we've got core creation cost. I know there are people licking their lips when reading that in the developer diaries. And for your final one, bureaucratic ranks, we've got this new modifier in the game, which will actually make all your monarchs have stronger administrative stats. Now, given Ming's start in 1444, they could really do with that. I bet they wished they had that to begin with, and that is going to apply to consorts as well. So it might even make you want to marry in to the Ming family. But looking at the first one, it gives you yearly meritocracy. Now, what could that possibly mean for China here? Well, being the Emperor of China and being a celestial empire go hand in hand here. So when you are the celestial empire, you are always legit, so instead we measure it by meritocracy. Chinese very big on that in the time, and if you want to bring your meritocracy up, well, as you can see from the start, we're having a bit of a problem with ours. It's going down by 2 per month there, no, 2 per year, and only going up because of our glorious Chinaware. Now, to increase this, you're going to want to hire some fairly good advisors. Ming at the start not really having too much trouble affording that. And there we go. Depending on the skill level of your own advisors, you'll be able to push your own meritocracy up. So you might think, oh, nice, we'll just get that going up nice and high so we can enjoy the bonuses there, where spies have a harder time and advisors get cheaper. But meritocracy itself can be spent, just like Mandate can, but this time the Celestial Emperor can do it to pass their decrees. We have 6 decrees available for the Emperor of China. We're going to go through them here. We have the expanding of palace bureaucracy, if you want that core cost and development cost going down. The promotion of naval officers to bring up that ship durability by a whopping 20%. Also improving the defense efforts, fort defense plus 25% for that true Great Wall of China feel. You can conduct some census to bring up that tax by another whopping 25%. We can bring up trade power, and we can also boost our infantry combatability, which might really be something you want to pass if you find your mandate slipping down, your army's not performing quite as well. So let's do one. I'm a big fan of money, so we'll go down the census path. We can enjoy that. It's going to cost 20 meritocracy, so we want to keep an eye and not let that slip too far down. But we'll keep it up so long as we have good advisors, and we'll certainly be able to afford them better with this extra tax coming in. Now, working our way down this Empire of China screen that we have here, what's this about 10 tributaries? Well, Tributaries is a new system brought over to East Asia. Anybody within the Eastern religion group, and also hordes, never forget those, they deserve their tributaries. You can establish a tributary nation. Now, tributaries have a great deal of independence on their own. However, they bend the knee and they pay their overlord by way of tribute every year. So why don't we look at Ming's starting tributaries, shall we? Now, in reality, the Chinese tributary system was vast. And we started in 1444, we model it just down here in Southeast Asia, Korea of course, and some of the miners bordering Ming. You can choose to expand that or choose to expand yourself. So again, like I said, we'll look at who we have here. I should have mentioned earlier, but I've got my eyes on the chat here, so if you have any questions that you want to pose in on this feature stream, I'll try to keep my eyes on it. Sadly, we don't have a number 2 with also eyes on the chat here. Yes,
I have my eyes on the chat.
Oh,
so,
fantastic!
Yeah.
If you see any questions that you think, oh, wow, we got to get an answer on this, just poke it my way. Otherwise, I've got my eyes on it here. So default, it's like the game's read my mind. We're getting money, money, money in from our tributaries. Now, the tribute that you get does scale with the size or income of the nation below you. So let's look at good old Korea here. They're fairly large and strong. All the better now that we've given their map a nice overhaul, courtesy of some great suggestions that we saw coming in from the community. What can we get out of them? Well, we could get 16 ducats a year out of them. Or we could demand some monarch power. Now, this is scaled to the development of that nation, and we could get 3 admin, or 3 dip, or 3 mil out of them every year. So if you've really been looking for ways to bolster that monarch point income, maybe being the Celestial Emperor is for you. We could also grab manpower out of them, so if you're having a rough time with the Mongol hordes to the north, and you think, oh geez, these armies need more coming in, And then you can always demand manpower from your subjects. So, Korea, they've got great bureaucracy, right? Why don't we get some admin power out of them? We could also look down to the likes of Ayutthaya we have here. Great fighters down in Ayutthaya. We should bring in some military power from them. I want military power from Champa as well. But when we look to the likes of Ryukyu, Ryukyu are actually too small to give us any monarch points out of them. They need to have at least 33 development to do so. We're already demanding ducats, but no, we need Ryukyuan soldiers. They are the best around the world. So you can do this. You can set what tribute you want out of them all. But what more is there to it than that when it comes to our tributary system? Now, tributary is very important for keeping that mandate high as the Emperor of China. What can you do with the ones you have? Well, we have new interactions that can be done with them. Why don't we look back to good old Korea here? So you can actually bestow some gifts upon your own tributary. It might seem odd, but in China it was kind of customary. They will bring you gifts and you will actually give it back. It was a glorified trade deal, if anything. So you can actually give gifts back to your own tributaries, depending on, well, scaling with their own income here, and that will affect their liberty desire. Now, I'm going to touch on liberty desire of tributes in a moment, because it works in a different way here. We can also demand additional tribute out of them, and understandably, they're not going to be too happy about that. So we'll take Korea, and we're going to take some extra money, because that's just how we roll around here. Additionally, you can demand some artifacts out of them. If their prestige is that bit higher than yours and you want some of that, you can actually demand some artifacts from them to boost your own prestige, and somewhat understandably that will also make them a little angry. Also, if your tributaries are involved in war, you can send some additional troops to help them out. That will siphon some of your manpower away to them. So there we go, we've got some new interactions along with some existing ones. You can actually pay off the debt of your tributaries and grant them provinces, which will, as it does for other subject types, make them rather happy. So, we were talking about liberty desire a moment ago. What does that mean for tributaries? Tributaries don't really fight you to break away in the same way that other subjects like vassals and marches and personal unions would. No, every year they will be asked, are you going to send your annual tribute to the great Chinese emperor? They are demanding their money or their manpower. And they're going to say yes to that, so long as liberty desire is not getting too high. But if it is, like in Korea's sense, they're going to start thinking, you know what do I owe this guy? And if they refuse to send tribute, then mutual trust is going to deteriorate between the two nations. And when trust goes low enough, the tributary agreement is going to break away. And also, somewhat understandably, it's going to make the Emperor of China think, maybe these guys, we can't trust them so much. We'll go in with military force and either take them over or force them back into the tributary agreement. Because if you've been forced in, then at least for the truce period, you are not allowed to simply exit that yourself. I quite like one of the comments I see here, which is just Ryukyu will overthrow Ming. Well, you're going to have to time it right with Ming, because they're going to be taking your money away in tribute. Or maybe you break away to begin with, who's to say? Also have a question saying, can you give me a free key? Well, you'd have to ask even nicer than that, I think. And yes.
We also have a lot of questions regarding today's Dev Clash, because I believe not everyone is aware that we're entering summertime, and not everyone enters summertime at the same time. So
that's right. Clocks did change across the pond, didn't they? But
yeah.
Our Dev Clash will be going on in, what, 45 minutes, I'd say? Yeah, 45-ish. That's how professional we run our times around here, 45-ish. But yeah, at 1500 over here in glorious Scandinavian time, we'll be running with the Dev Clash. Should be after this. Also need to get my train of thought back here. We're talking tributaries, we're talking Ryukyu. Okay, now we were looking back here at our tributaries, and they affect mandate growth. Now at the start, we want that mandate going up. It's going down ever so slowly because we have bordering nations who are not our tributaries. So how do we get more tributaries. It is integral for keeping your own mandate high as China. Well, it can be done, much like other subject types can, diplomatically. So the thing about Ming at the start of the game is they are really strong. They'll be a lot stronger now than you may remember from previous versions, since we're no longer artificially hampering them with the increased autonomy across the board. So they shouldn't have too much problem establishing tributaries in their nearby nations, and this will help them out greatly. So if we establish some tributaries on our borders here, and I think we could even go down and ask Ava rather nicely. Big fan of Ava, not as much as I am a fan of Tangu though, so we'll establish a tributary there as well. Excellent. Now you have quite a lot of sway in the diplomacy and warfare down here, because the thing about tributaries are they have very much an independent foreign diplomacy. They can still declare their own wars and it won't involve you, and they can have their own subjects. Really all they have to do is bend the knee and send you the annual tribute. However, if somebody comes in from outside of your tributary system and attacks one of your tributaries, then you will be asked to defend them. You don't have to. You could be a terrible overlord and say, you know what, these guys didn't pay me quite enough. We'll let them get roughed up by the likes of Bengal and then see how they like that. Tributaries can, of course, infight without getting their overlord too annoyed, since after all it's just land changing hands between people who ultimately bend the knee to you. So if you take your attention away from Southeast Asia here as the Emperor of China, you might find Ayutthaya coming to carve all this land up. And Ayutthaya could still well be paying you the tribute, but if they get too powerful, they might well be thinking about seizing that title for themselves, and they will wait to strike when your own mandate is too low. So we've done pretty good on our mandate. We still have a problem with the non-bordering people bordering us who are not tributaries to the north. So we have these pesky nomads, and one thing that you get as the Emperor of China is that you have the ability to unify the Chinese region. So the Korchin, they're silly enough to hold on to land which is rightfully part of China, so we can use the Unify China casus belli upon them, and that will reduce the cost of getting any lands within the areas. Alternatively, we could force these Mongols to actually have to pay us. You never know, they might get too strong and attack you. There is a risk for Ming, or indeed anybody who grows to become the Emperor of China, because there are a couple of disasters for it. We can see one right here, which is the unguarded nomadic frontier. If the Manchus grow to be too strong on your border there, then that could cause you a pretty harsh time with regards to your own mandate and liberty desire in your subject. So got to keep an eye around you. Get yourself plenty of tributaries, and you'll be able to pass your celestial reforms and become stronger than ever before. Now, as I said, being the Emperor is hand in hand with being the celestial empire government type, so you'll get your decrees, your mandate. It's kind of an all-in-one deal, but it does paint a big old target on you, as we might end up seeing in our dev clash with Dai Viet, who have grown to become the Emperor of China themselves. We have a question saying you can't conquer your tributaries. There is actually nothing stopping you from cancelling the tributary agreement, but they will understandably be quite hurt by that. So if you wish to actually drop out nations from your tributary agreement, you certainly can do so. But keep in mind that as you expand, you're going to end up bordering more and more nations who may not be quite so willing to be your tributary. So it's a balancing act of keeping your mandate high and furthering your own ambitions. I think that about covers what I wanted to specifically look at China, or rather specifically Ming China for. There's one little nice touch I wanted to pop here, where we can actually see the previous emperors, so if somebody else takes over then they'll be listed in something of a hall of fame here. And to answer the question from Hansen War, there is no longer the 50% autonomy across the board for Ming. in all their state provinces. They have no real autonomy floor here. And to those that get the Mandate of Heaven expansion, this replaces the old faction system, which is what in place if you play without the DLC. Now, there's another great question coming in, which says, how can you get the Emperor? I'm guessing you mean, how do you become the Celestial Emperor? Which is, you know, I live dangerously. I'm going to load a game that I've totally done legit here. Do I want claims EOC? Yeah, why don't we go for that? Now, nations who border the Emperor of China, who are also in the Eastern or pagan religion group, they can fight Ming to become the Emperor of China themselves. There is a unique casus belli, which is to secure the mantle for themselves. So here we have Ming, but we have taken our glorious Manchu, and we are chewing our way into Ming, and we are doing so because we have access to these fantastic new banners which are available for Manchu. I guess we can touch on those in a bit later. So you want to strike Ming in their moment of weakness, and with this we are going to be harming their mandate growth. You want to strike them, bring them down, because as mandate goes down, their own troops are going to be performing worse, and their own economy is going to suffer. So what you want to do is actually bring up the devastation for the existing Chinese emperor, crush their mandate, and secure it for yourself. So, I mean, we're not above using a bit of jiggery pokery here. I'm just going to grant myself some war score here. I mean, I could sit down here and crush Ming all day as Manchu. I actually spent some time doing that earlier. I was having the time of my life playing with the new Manchu banners against Ming. But I digress here. When you have fully crushed the Emperor of China, the existing Emperor of China, whoever that may be, might not be Ming. What if Dai Viet come and take it on for themselves? You'll have to take them down. You can use a unique peace offer here, which is to claim the Mandate of Heaven from the false pretender Ming. In addition with this, the cost for taking land is halved, so we can actually take quite a lot alongside that. That's a healthy amount of Chinese development to take for ourselves. And when we do this, there we go. Let's ignore that. We definitely fought hundreds of battles against Ming. What do we get for this? So now it is us who are the Emperor of China. Again, mandate gets reset and existing celestial reforms get wiped. After all, you've got to make your own history. You now lead China. And for us, it's glorious Manchu. And as you can see, we have our own issues now. We have to balance our own mandate. And yeah, we have large nations bordering us who are not our tributaries. We could set up our own ones beforehand. Although now that we are the king around here, we can deal with that ourselves. And life is pretty bad for the old Emperor of China after this, because they will now get the Lost Mandate of Heaven modifier, which I think we could jump over to Ming to just have a quick look at. You will also get plenty of events associated with being the Emperor of China, and I do love getting military power, so we'll go for that. Now, for Ming, I'm just going to jump over to them to have a quick look at them. Here we go. If you lose the Mandate of Heaven, you will face this modifier here, Lost Mandate of Heaven, which is going to be a terrible time for your country and can lead to the fabled Ming-plosion from times past. So the idea is that you come in, if you weaken Ming and take the title for themselves, Ming will suffer the Ming-plosion, and you can tributize or gobble up the existing states that will emerge from them. If we jump back into Manchu as well, one of your many prizes for securing the Emperor of China yourself is that you will get permanent claims on all of the Chinese regions here. So permanent claims, to those who might not quite remember, they're better than regular claims. They're going to reduce scoring cost even further. And they will not go away unless somebody beats you and forces you to get rid of them. We're being asked that if we were to form Qing now, would we stay Emperor? Absolutely. What other questions do we have
We have
coming
another
in?
question coming in from Dr. Nitram,
Yes?
butchering names. If you overthrow the Emperor, do you gain all the tributaries, or do you have to start over?
You will be reforming the tributary system, but now that Ming have been sufficiently weakened, I think they're going to have a hard time holding on to their existing tributaries, and you can come in and take them yourself, either by force or diplomatically. And the tributary system is available for Eastern religion, and also, if you end up as the Emperor of China, you will get that as a given, essentially. So you can establish them yourselves. Actually, quite a lot of questions coming in here. Do you get all of the daimyos as tributaries if you make Japan a tributary? No, that's not the case. Tributaries can have their own subjects. Why do you get a claim on Taiwan when it's not even colonized? Might not be, but it's still part of the China region, so it is, of course, rightfully ours as Manchu.
Mr. Sinise asks, can I become the Emperor of China as a European, African, or American state?
Now, the claiming of the Emperor of China is tied to being in the Eastern or pagan religious group, and that is all that's holding you back. You also have to be bordering China or the existing Emperor of China to go for it. So let's say you are somebody migrating over here, and maybe you decide, no, Mahayanan is the faith for me, and oh, what's this Emperor of China? You certainly can.
It's possible, but you have your work cut out for
You got your work cut out for you, but I know there are players who immediately start doing their theory crafting about, okay, how am I going to be East Phrygia, Confucian Emperor of China, HRE? Yeah, absolutely. We we did have a think of, should we block this? And it was just, no, you can go for it.
I'm thinking there's a few people in the company that will have to bring Swedish välfärd to
Oh man, yeah, I know exactly who you're
China.
talking about there. Okay, so I have a great question coming in saying, what if the current emperor gets annexed? So for the Emperor of China, there's no elections. If you want to take it, you're going to have to take it by force. But not everybody wants that gutter crown, and of course, not everybody is actually eligible for it. So let's take a warmongering nation. I don't know, how about Dai Viet, if anything's to go by from their multiplayer performance, and we'll make life nice for them. This will be the last thing that we can... let's ignore all this stuff. This will be the last thing, I guess, we can really show off before we remove the Emperor of China from the game here by doing this, but Manchu are currently the Emperor of China, and we are Dai Viet. We are incredibly strong, obviously, so let's eat up Manchu for ourselves. What this is going to do is actually give you some flavor text about how you have now crushed the Emperor of China, which we of course have just done legitimately. You all saw it here. The memory of the Empire will live on for some time. The Kingdom of Dai Viet will forever be remembered as the destroyers of the last Emperor. And much like taking the HRE apart, you are given a lovely prize bonus, so if you just want to squeeze some power out of them, then that's your prize for simply dismantling the Emperor of China, just straight up annexing the Emperor himself. So that will actually remove it from the game. I'm wondering if we have any other... Yeah, can you be the HRE and have Chinese Emperor? You'd have quite a lot of hoops to jump through for that, but absolutely. There's a lot of questions coming in specifically about can you do this and this, or this and this, and I think those are more answered in the developer diary on the Emperor of China, which we had a few weeks ago.
We have a question regarding tributaries and specifically being one.
Yes.
Under what conditions can a country exert their own will to try to remove their tributary status?
Okay, that's a good point. I wonder if I can jump back into this, living dangerously here.
Also, follow-up question, do they get any bonuses for being a tributary?
Aha, great point. Right, we're going to jump into that. Which tributary shall we pick? Can't go wrong with Ayutthaya, can you? Well, just ask Fido and the Dev MP. They aren't going wrong with them unless they're having to fight Bengal. So we are a tributary here as Ayutthaya. What does that mean for us? Well, when you are a tributary, of course you have to give in your annual tribute, and you're going to get a reminder about that each year. Are you going to pay or not? As you do, assuming that you give your tribute, you're going to build up mutual trust. and as a subject to the Ming. When Ming advance in technology ahead of you, if they do, that is, I'm not being accusing here at all. If they go ahead of you in technology, then you will get a bonus towards that. So here we are. Let's just give Ming some tech here. Master of console commands. I don't know where it all comes from. I did do that right. Ming are now at Tech 8 across the board. Ayutthaya are not. You are actually going to get a bonus to it because your overlord is better at it than you. So you will get the tech bonus, and that's just if they have any tech above you in any of those admin dip or mill ratings. And additionally, you are somewhat protected against other nations. Other nations that are also part of the same tributary system, if they attack you, then you will have to fight it out as normal. But if they attack you from outside of the tributary system, so if we look at Ming for a second here, let's say Malacca came knocking. They're not part of the tributary system here, at least not yet. Who knows how far those Ming clutches will reach. Then Ming will jump to your aid, assuming that they like you and they follow all the regular checks for do I actually want to defend this person. Quite a few questions coming in here. Did Manchu lose its ability for massive cavalry army when he became the emperor? I think it was still in the... His government type would have changed, but I'm trying to remember what that actually ties with. I guess I could check with Manchu. Because there's nothing, take our Manchu here, there's nothing saying that we have to take the throne for ourselves right now. We could happily gobble up quite a lot of China before we decide that the actual title should be ours. And it might be a consideration, because if you take the title for yourself but Ming still remains strong, they could well want that back. So yes, you would change away from being a steppe nomad. So cavalry to infantry ratio would go down. You could still have quite a lot of cavalry, but not as many as before. You wouldn't get the extra bonus there.
So I presume if you lose the Mandate of Heaven and you get the debuff or the condition of lost Mandate of Heaven, if you fight back and win, you will lose that.
You absolutely can fight back and regain your position as the Emperor of China. The reforms, you'll have to pass those through again, because clearly the ones you passed weren't good enough before, so you'll have to redo them over. I'm going to take this moment then to touch on the banners, since they're an important part for if you want to go full Manchu and take on the Celestial Throne for yourself. So the Manchus have access to their new Manchu banners, and what these are, if I actually get rid of some of the ones that I already have, where can we raise up some of these, I wonder? We'll take this province, for example. Banners are unique units that you can raise, and it's going to cost you corruption instead of manpower and money. And they're going to be raised at low strength, like that. Here we go. And they're actually going to take you up to your infantry cavalry ratio. So for Manchus, that's going to get you quite a lot of cavalry. Banners, they have extra discipline on those units specifically. So for these cavalry, they're going to have an extra 10% discipline. They'll hit harder and they will take less damage. And yeah, being cavalry, they're going to flank pretty hard. Now they start out pretty weak, so they're not something you can click your fingers and immediately have an army that is ready to rock and roll. But they are going to reinforce without costing manpower. So different from the way that they cost, and they fight that bit harder. You want to keep them around. These really are your shock troops, and they really are key for securing that Celestial Throne for yourself. And the Manchus actually get... this one cracks me up, because we have the ability for possible Manchu banners increased as one of the new Manchu ideas. I remember when this was teased at first, I think it said larger banners. And we were reading discussions like, larger banners, do you get bigger flags on the map? That was a good one. Okay, I think that about rounds up what we're going to talk about, because we are just focusing on China today. We are going to have other feature streams. I believe we wish to talk about ages quite a bit. We also want to look into the Japanese in the future. We'll be back before the dev clashes every Tuesday up until release, and as I said, we have announced that release date. It is April the 6th. That is when Mandate of Heaven will be available to you. So we got about 20 minutes until the dev clash. I think we're going to go on standby until then. But from me, and indeed all the team, thanks for showing your interest in Mandate of Heaven, and I'll be seeing you in 20 minutes. Cheers, and just for now, cheerio.